If Muhammad is seen as the final messenger and prophet of Allah, then what does it mean if one of his prophecies fail? Let's take a look. Hello everyone, this is Al Fadi and I want to welcome you to a brand new video series that we will be doing here with our friend Apostate Prophet. Today we are going to focus on the so-called prophecies of Muhammad, or let's call it actually as it is, the failed prophecies of Muhammad. Now, of course, if we are going to take the Islamic description of Muhammad at face value, he is described to us as a prophet, not just a messenger. And to be a prophet, that means you prophesy things in the future. At least this is how the prophets of old, the prophets of the Old Testament, the prophets of the New Testament, operated. They would predict things in the future and they will come to pass. But we are going to take a journey down some of the claims that are either made by our Muslim friends through some of the Islamic sources or Muhammad himself concerning future events that he predicted would take place. And with that in mind, let us welcome our friend Apostate Prophet to the studio. AP, thank you so much as always for being here with us.
Thank you so much, Al. It's a pleasure to be here as always. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. Thank you, of course, for taking time, out of your busy schedule to invest in very important topics like this. So, indeed, AP, you and I know that growing up Muslims, we believe that Muhammad, not only just a messenger, but he's a prophet, yes, delivered a message to us, but the idea that he even predicted things in the future. And I used to believe in the major signs of the end times and the minor signs of the end times, among many other things that I used to assume that all of it came from Muhammad until I discovered later that has nothing to do with him for the most part. And when I started to dig even deeper as I was growing up into some of his prophecies, first I was fascinated by them, but then when I start to search for the truth, I realized that none of these actually qualify to be called even prophecies. But before we spoil this for our audience, let me turn it over to you. So what is it that we are going to talk about today?
Yeah, so we want to talk about, I want to focus mainly today on certain prophecies that that failed. So certain prophecies that did not come true, that have no possibility of coming true, and that are proven to have, failed very obviously. Now, it's very, you said it too, it's very popular in the Muslim community among Muslims to say Muhammad was definitely a true prophet. He was a messenger. He foretold the truth. Everything he said would happen, will happen, is happening right now. And all of that, and people usually do this thing. They try to, cherry pick certain predictions and try to reinterpret current events or historical events in order to say, look, this is actually that. But people refuse to look at prophecies that are obviously failed and which we can find directly in the Islamic sources. That's what we want to focus on today. And there's one thing to point out. Now, Muhammad is seen as the messenger, the prophet, but also most importantly as the final messenger. So Muslims don't just have to accept that he is a prophet, a messenger. They also have to accept that he's the seal of prophets and the final messenger. And they must accept the teaching that after him, no messenger, no prophet can come. It is impossible. And the meaning here, the implication here is actually more than just that he has a prestigious, status. It is that he is the bringer of the end that is about to come. So Muhammad in his time, 1,400 years ago in the 7th century, actually made it very clear for people that the end is coming. It's about to come. It will be here in a little bit, and we are supposed to prepare for it because it's going to be here anytime now. So in order to understand that, I want to go into some of the prophecies that he made to hint at the imminent end. If we want to proceed, unless there's anything else you want to say.
Not at all. I think you laid it out very well. So, I'm assuming this might take us a couple of videos. So just
Yeah.
make people aware of that. So what is the first prophecy you want to focus on?
So the first prophecy is one where Muhammad is reported to have said that the end would come within 100 years or within the century. So the Quran often says that nobody knows the precise hour except Allah, and its knowledge is with nobody else. So Muslims, when presented with evidence that Muhammad actually made predictions about an imminent end, say, well, that can't be true because nobody actually knew it. So Muhammad himself did not know it. He didn't know the precise time. But here is a prophecy in which we see that Muhammad does indeed predict a time frame, not a precise time, but a time frame. He says in this hadith, which is found in multiple sources in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, do you realize the importance of this night? Nobody present on the surface of the earth tonight would be living after the completion of 100 years from this night. Now, it's a very interesting wording, isn't it? Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, really? Are you saying people are gonna die before 100 years from now? Surely, I mean, everybody with him probably died before then.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like when we bring this up, many Muslim apologists say, no, you're completely taking this out of context. What he's actually meaning to say is just, in 100 years, you guys will be dead. So, but I don't think that's actually what he said. And if you look at the wording and the context, this is not what he said.
Right, he was thinking future things, obviously, but I can see their point because that's probably their way out. But it is a ridiculous prophecy if that's their interpretation of it.
Yeah, it's nothing special to say, right? I mean,
Exactly.
I can sit here and say, guys, you should realize the importance of this night because in 100 years, none of the people on earth will be alive. Now, first off, people would be like, okay, so what? Secondly, what exactly does that have to do with this night? And why is this night so important? Thirdly, is it even true? If you say, if you want to make a generic statement that everybody alive today will definitely be dead in 100 years, is that even true? There are people who lived longer than 100
That's
years.
right. I mean, somebody was born that night and lived 102 years. There you go. Muhammad is a liar now.
Debunked, yeah. And it is undeniable that people who lived longer than 100 years, like lived throughout the centuries. It's not like people just lived for 30 years back then. This is a common phenomenon which we can trace back, centuries, millennia. What Muhammad is actually saying here, and this is also found in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, in the sections talking about the hour, and the hour always stands for the last hour, the coming of the day of judgment. It is found in those chapters. Muhammad is talking about the hour, and he is clearly saying here, as he spends a lot of time praying and contemplating about people asking him when the hour will come, he turns around and says to them, believers, do you realize the importance of this night? Nobody on the surface of the earth today will be left alive in 100 years, meaning within 100 years, within a century, everybody will be gone. It will all be over. The earth will be ended. It will be done. The hour will come.
Yeah, because if I want to take let me play the devil's advocate, AP. If I want to take the Muslim side, how they try to defend it, then the burden of proof is on them to prove to us that everyone for the next 100 years from the time Muhammad says did indeed die and did not live past that 100 years mark.
Yeah. Well, it's you would really have to prove that, right? You would have to. I mean, what would be the point of this prophecy? What would be the point of this statement to begin with?
Absolutely.
It would have to mean something. It would have to signify something that you can actually point at and say, look, he was right. Look, he was right. This night was very important because indeed, after that night, nobody lived longer than 100 years. And I mean, even if you ended up for some reason sitting down and proving that, what exactly would that do? It would do nothing at all. So
True.
it is very clear. Muhammad is talking about the hour as it is also put into the books, into the right category. And the hour did not come within 100 years. People did not die. People continued living. We are 1,400 years after Muhammad, and this prophecy is a very obvious failure.
Yeah, and also, I mean, let me again. I'm telling you, I'm playing the devil's advocate. Knowing my Muslim friends who are apologists, how creative they can be. They can say, come back and say, well, there was a famine, there was a virus, and okay, fine. Then who reported it if everybody died? Who told you that this happened? Do you have a manuscript evidence to support it? And then who came back to life after that if everybody's dead?
Yeah, exactly. And what's funny is in Muslim history, in Muslim tradition, even in these books, you will find Islamic scholars arguing about this and even saying, some of us misunderstood this and thought it would be about the hour, but it was actually about the people around the Prophet. And
Mhm.
it's just a very desperate attempt to explain away this failed prophecy after the matter.
That's
But
true.
it is in those books, it is recorded, and we can look into those books and find this prophecy right there and see that it is indeed a failure. So this is one major failure that I think we should get out of the way before we move on to even more failed prophecies.
Absolutely. So I know we're approaching probably the conclusion of our first show. So is there anything else you want to add to this, or do you think we can carry it on in the next part?
We can do it in the next episode. I will say this is nothing. There is much more to prove that Muhammad was indeed a false prophet.
Mhm.
There is more to come.
Thank you. And I hope our viewers are catching on now on the theme that we're trying to show you. I mean, this is a statement made by someone, allegedly Muhammad, found in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim, which is really authentic sayings. And yet, if you look at it any way you want, it doesn't make any sense, whether the reason why the statement was made, or if indeed it is speaking about the hour or the end times. Then how can we know for sure that what Muhammad says was indeed accurate? Because we're still here. I'm still here after he said it, 14 centuries later. So there you have it. That's 14 times he's wrong, actually. Not just one time, not just twice, 14 times. And the odds of winning any lottery that way are very minimal, actually. In fact, I would say winning the lottery is much even more accurate than to even pay attention to something like that. So this is why we wanted to highlight things like this, because at the end of the day, really, it doesn't prove anything about Muhammad, the fact that he's a prophet. Rather, it actually exposes more problems about his so-called prophethood and his claims about the end times in this case. Thank you, AP. Thank you, everyone. Until next time, have a blessed day. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment. And ring the bell so you will be notified when we release new content. Our mission is to reach Muslims with the gospel of Jesus Christ and help Christians engage with their Muslim neighbors. If you want to join us in this life-changing work, please support us on patreon.com/Sira International, or just click on the link below.